afternoon, Investigator Viverito.
Good afternoon, Mr. Weinstein.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. As you know, I represent Mr. Kendrick.
Yes, I do.
All right. Let me ask you a few questions. Excuse me. Permission to approach, Your Honor? I'm going to show you DK16. Do you recognize the individual in that picture?
I do.
I'd like to admit DK16 into evidence. Permission to publish? In Exhibit DK16, who do you see?
Dwayne Carter.
And Dwayne Carter is also known as Little Wayne, right?
He is.
Okay. In the image that is on the right side of the two photographs,
Yes,
you see his arm there, correct?
I do.
Do you see ESPN on his arm?
I do.
And what do you maintain that the ESPN, or do you know what the ESPN on his arm stands for?
On him, since he's not a member of YSL, I couldn't tell you what that stands for.
But he's not a member of YSL, correct?
Correct.
And yet he has ESPN on his arm.
Correct. Like I could have a star, Bloods could have a star. Different tattoos mean different things to different people.
So the ESPN on his arm could mean ESPN, the sports network, correct?
As not being a member of YSL, yes.
So if you're a member of YSL and you have ESPN on your arm, are you saying the only thing it could possibly mean is your interpretation of ESPN?
That's what I've seen it mean thus far with members of YSL.
And that's the only thing you believe it could mean?
As far as members of YSL, yes.
So the fact that my client was a football star at Grady. Okay. Do you know if my client played football at Grady?
I do now.
Do you know my client got a scholarship to University of Georgia as a football player?
Objection, assume effect.
I'm asking if she knows it.
Sustained. You can ask if she knows whether it's true or not.
Do you know if my client got a scholarship to the University
I've
of
heard
Georgia?
that.
You've heard that. Okay. And so would you find it surprising that someone that got a football scholarship to the University of Georgia might like ESPN, the network?
I mean, they could like it, but I don't know if I'm sure he likes other.
Oh,
If it's tattooed
Hold
on
on.
you, it must mean ESPN, that you're a member of YSL. You just said that Dwayne Carter
hold on.
has
Did something get
ESPN on.
skipped?
Do you know my client got a scholarship to University of Georgia as a football player?
Objection, assume effect.
I'm asking if she knows it.
Sustained. You can ask if she knows whether it's true or not.
Do you know if my client got a scholarship to the University
I've
of
heard
Georgia?
that.
You've heard that. Okay. And so would you find it surprising that someone that got a football scholarship to the University of Georgia might like ESPN, the network?
I mean, they could like it, but I don't know if I'm sure he likes other TV channels also that aren't tattooed on him.
She really buffered.
So if it's tattooed on you, it must mean ESPN, that you're a member of YSL. You just said that Dwayne Carter has ESPN on his arm, but he's not a member of YSL.
Sustained.
You just said that ESPN on Lil Wayne is not a YSL insignia, correct?
Correct. Like I could say, you can see a college sorority girl with a star tattoo on her, right? And then you can go down to the prison and see members of blood gangs with 5-point stars tattooed on them. It's going to we look at everything on an individual basis. So I can't make that determination. When it comes to YSL members, when you see ESPN associated with a YSL member, I have not seen it mean of anything other than every slime play nasty.
And you said you could see a sorority girl with a star on her, correct?
Correct.
And you could see a University of Georgia football player with ESPN on their arm too, correct?
Correct, but they're both not members of a blood gang or YSL.
Okay. Mr. Kokomo, can I get you to come up? May I approach again, Your Honor?
You may.
think Kokomo is a distraction bait here for Viverito, perhaps. Not to minimize the hard work I know Kokomo does, but get closer to the witness. Let the witness get a good look at Mr. Kokomo. Oh, it took 2 whole seconds for her bias to show. I cannot believe that.
Mr. Kokomo is going to show you a video. I just want to know if you recognize that video.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah. Would you play a piece of that?
Can I stop for a second? Is that going to show my face on camera?
No, we're not going to.
Okay, I just
I'm
wanna
not
make-
going to.
I just want to make sure.
I'm not going to show you.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
Do you recognize that video?
I do.
I'm not going to publish this video, but I'd like to introduce DK15 into evidence.
Okay. It's admitted.
Okay, now I'm going to show you a still from the video.
Sure,
Okay, do you recognize that?
I do.
And do you recognize the individual in that?
That is me. I do.
Okay. I am going to introduce DK15A. And it's redacted. Are you okay with that redaction?
All
Okay.
right, and that's a still from the video.
Yes, it's
Submitted.
DK15A. It's a still from the video, and it's been redacted to remove the image of Investigator Viverito.
Thank you. It's
Okay.
admitted.
Would you please publish DK15A? Okay. Who is in this still image from DK15?
That is me.
Okay. Do you recall when this was taken?
That was on March 9th of 2020. I'm sorry, May 9th of 2022
And where was it taken?
at 355 Allison Drive, Northeast, Atlanta, Georgia, 30342.
And whose home was that at the time?
The home of Jeffrey Williams.
And where in the home are you?
Should be the master bedroom closet leading to the bathroom.
And in the video that you watched, which I'm not publishing, again, because it has your image on it.
Correct?
What are you doing at that point in the video?
We're inventorying the jewelry and items that are in the home.
Okay.
Inventory?
And is this image that is taken, that's part of your inventorying procedure in the home, is that correct?
It's a documentation procedure, yes.
Okay. And do you recognize what you're holding in your hand in this still image?
I do.
And what are you holding in your hand?
A watch of some sort.
Okay. Do you know if do you recognize that as a Richard Mille watch?
I guess, yes.
And that's a pink watch, correct?
It's pink and either pink and light pink or pink and white, yes.
It's a pink band, correct?
Correct?
And it has a white ceramic, I'll call it the body of the watch.
White, yeah, I guess it's white if you say so, yes.
Okay. After you took this image and you did this inventorying process, where did the watch go after this?
If you watch the video in its entirety, we're inventorying everything in the closet. There's a bunch of small boxes everywhere. So if you watch the video in its entirety, you take it and the watch is photographed like this, box is closed, it's taken and put up on the shelf in the upper left-hand corner, and the inventorying continues. And then jewelry starts getting packed up and getting ready for the evidence team to come and take it down to property.
Okay. Since November the 4th of this year, have you spoken to the state about this particular watch, the pink watch with the white band that I've been calling the Richard Mille or Richard Mille watch?
To the state, no, but I've seen the
Social media?
Twitter coverage of it going missing or whatever you want to.
Maybe
Well, no, I mean, there's a camera in here.
Please.
They know that it's being live streamed. You just are not supposed to be watching it.
Oh.
And you asked that in the evidence, so
Well,
just keep moving.
I wasn't watching the trial, but my name.
Don't
and-
worry about it.
Okay.
Just keep moving.
Okay.
Unless you need to
But
approach
you-
about something
No,
else.
That
that's
seems
fine.
like a lie.
Okay.
Because what about the Taisha Alexander
Tell me,
comment?
I'd like to know about this. Tell me in the, whatever coverage you saw, what did you learn about this watch that came up in this trial?
Sustained, well, yeah, sustained.
Okay. So after this watch was inventoried and you left it for, I'm sorry, who did you say takes the watch after the inventorying process?
So if you watch the video in its entirety,
Which I can't show here, but go
right?
ahead.
But if you watched it, like I watched it, the watch gets boxed back up and placed up on the shelf, and it gets left there by the team as as an accident. It was left there. The home was then turned over to Mr. Williams Sr. and Mr. Garfield Lamond to take possession of the home.
And is it the normal process when you're taking jewelry from the home or high value goods that
Inventorying.
you leave behind a $500,000 watch on a shelf?
First, I don't know the value of it. Second of all, like I said, there were numerous jewelry boxes. It was, if you watch the video, everybody in there had on body cameras. I was made sure I was on camera at all times. There was cameras throughout the home. So you would be able to see if one of us removed a watch, the box remained in the closet. And like I said, the home was turned over to Mr. Williams Sr. and Mr. Garfield Lamond, who were the two people on scene that took custody of the home for Mr. Williams.
Okay, can we go back to my question?
Sure.
Sure. Is it the normal procedure to leave high-valued items behind when you're doing a search and then a seizure pursuant to a warrant?
Objection out of relevance and answer.
It wasn't answered, Your Honor.
Overruled.
I don't know if there's necessarily a procedure on what you take or what you don't. Like I said, it got left behind. There were other things, like other items of evidence that I had asked to be taken, such as photographs and artwork that had relevance to this case that were left behind by the evidence team. It was quite a big operation. There was a hostile crowd gathering at the bottom of the driveway, so we were trying to speed it up to get out of there.
So are you telling me that law enforcement has no procedure with what you do with high-value items that are subject to a seizure warrant?
Objection on relevance, ask and answer.
It's asked and answered at this point.
Okay. So the watch you say was left behind. What else wasn't done according to your instructions at the home that day?
I believe there were two pieces of artwork that were, one was Mr. Williams in a general uniform with snakes on his arm, and then one was Mr. Williams as like the Jesus at the Last Supper with all the people around him that I thought were relevant that were not taken. And like I said, it started to get pretty hostile out there, so we were trying to speed things up.
You said that there were many people with body cams in the
Correct.
home at the time. How many people approximately at the time of this raid of the home, let's call it that, were wearing body cams?
Almost everybody.
And did these body cams capture Mr. Kendrick within the home?
I believe they caught Mr. Kendrick running from the home.
That's not the question I asked.
They caught him outside of the home. I don't know how to better I'm answering
Well,
the question.
it's either a yes, no.
No.
Is there body cam image of Mr. Kendrick within Mr. Williams' home?
The body camera image I saw was him running from the home.
Is there body cam image of
No.
Mr.
Answer
Williams
yes or no, and then you can explain.
in the home?
I haven't reviewed it, all of the entry team's body camera, but no.
Okay. Did you see Mr. Kendrick in Mr. Williams' home?
On that, by the time I arrived at the location, the entry was already made. So I did
you-
not, no.
You did not? Okay. Did you, there were approximately a half a dozen firearms found within the home, correct?
Correct?
Have you seen any images of Mr. Kendrick possessing any of those firearms?
I have not.
Have you seen any images of Mr. Kendrick near those firearms?
I have not.
There were drugs found in the home, correct?
Correct?
Did you see Mr. Kendrick with any of those drugs?
No.
Did you see Mr. Kendrick anywhere near any of those drugs?
No.
As far as you know, was Mr. Kendrick in actual possession of any of those drugs?
No, I wasn't there when they made entry.
Have you spoken to anyone? No, let me take that back. Um, did you speak to Mr. Kendrick at all at that time?
I did not.
Okay. As far as you know, did Mr. Kendrick have any of those drugs, as far as you know?
As far as I know, no.
And as far as you know, did he have any of those guns?
I just know he was in the home where they were located at some point that day.
Okay. Let's talk about the mob ties video for just a moment.
Yes.
So in that video, at the very end, right, we have Mr. Kendrick saying, excuse my language, saying, knock it off your big homie bitch, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall how many times that line was stated prior to Mr. Kendrick uttering that line at the very end?
Multiple.
And it was stated by 24 Heavy, Ricky Hill, correct?
Correct.
And I believe he states it 3 times, right?
Correct.
So Mr. Kendrick is just repeating a line that someone else has written or someone else has said. He's repeating that at the end, correct?
I'm not sure who the writing credits go to, but he did say it at the end.
He's not freestyling it in that it's never been heard before in the song, correct?
Well, it wasn't part of the song. At that point, the song had ended, and he yelled it.
But it had been said 3 times before in the song, right?
Right.
So you're aware there's post-editing that lines can be put into music after the song is recorded, correct?
Right, but the context of how he was saying it, the way he said it, wasn't going along with the song.
Ooh, this is interesting. Tell me about that.
It was after the song had concluded, and he kind of yelled it out with Miss Raven, and I forgot who else was
Look
with
at
him.
Sharp.
How do you determine that a song has concluded?
The video, the way it's portrayed in the video, I didn't edit it. The way that it's portrayed in the video has ended, and he utters it at the end after the song is concluded.
So what training have you had in music to know, when a song is ended in a particular video, when there's an utterance after a song is ended?
Are you asking me how I know when a song ends?
Yeah, how do you know this in this video? Like you've had training and expertise that tells you when a particular rap song ends and then something is just blurted out afterwards?
I mean, I've listened to the song independent of the video, and that's not on the track.
But it's in the video, correct?
Right, but when the song concludes, it's not part of the track.
Can we put up, I don't know, which one of y'all are throwing up exhibits? Can you put up 512 VV? Yes. Mr. Atkins, thank you so much.
This is crazy. She's so resistant to everything. And whether that might be fair on one point or not, it doesn't look good as a whole.
I should have told you
Oh.
that. Thank you, though.
Yeah, Kevin Kirksey, I agree. Little sleight of hand going on.
Sorry, just give us a minute to get it up.
And not to stereotype, but it is pink, right? KC Dog says Burrito's got the watch.
Okay. We'll talk about something just a moment while it's going to take a few minutes for this to get pulled
Okay.
up, okay? We'll come back to it, I promise. Again, I'm going to go back to the closet, and I apologize for jumping around.
Sure.
When you're in Mr. Williams, did you call it the jewelry closet?
No, it was a closet where there was a jewelry and other things, money, other things were stored.
Okay. When you're in that closet, do you recall in that video that you mentioned how valuable that watch is when you pull it up?
I don't believe so.
I can play that for you so you can hear that.
You can, yeah, if you'd like to.
I'll be careful.
Are we playing the video or just the audio?
I just want to do the audio, so I'm going to
Okay.
make sure we can get that done.
Well, that ought to not pose a problem.
I want to make sure we can technically do that without having an issue.
On it, okay. I mean, he could just play it from his laptop if that's an easier way to do it, as long as the jury can hear it.
Okay, can you turn it up?
Just put a mic next to your
Yeah,
speaker
Well,
on
can
your
do it.
laptop.
Kokomo's queuing it up, so it's spicy when it's something that the state doesn't have to pull up, that they haven't introduced yet with this witness. So whenever we see Kokomo, I know Kokomo watch all the time for you guys in the chat. But additionally, new exhibits, different exhibits.
Ferguson, good slings? All the way. All the way. All right, so much just say no. All the cars, minus the Mustang, contain either thug or guns, name in there.
I'm not sure that's working. There's a lot of an echo there.
And there's
We'll just play it for you so you can see that.
Let's look at this. I wish we could watch the body cam. I guess they're not going to show
I
it
just
to
don't want
us.
to risk your image being shown.
I appreciate you, Mr. Weinstein.
Oh man. You can still hear her. And we'll get the questions from Doug if there's something visual on the screen. I'm sure he'll ask questions about it.
Ferguson, good sling? All the way. All the way. All right, so much just say no. All the cars, minus the Mustang, contain either thug or guns, name in there. One of the vehicles with one of the horses contain windscreens and
I'm gonna put all the jewelry in this. We have an evidence bag.
You don't hear it in there?
I don't make that remark, no.
Okay.
We're going to put all the jewelry in the evidence bag. Did we?
What was the first watch?
I made it, like you said, I made it about the first watch that made it to
I mean, about
evidence.
the first watch,
Yeah.
which was also a Richard Mille watch, or Mill.
I don't
I don't know how to pronounce it. So you did make it about the first Richard Mill, just not the
That is in
second Richard
evidence.
Mill. Okay. But they're both Richard Mill watches, correct?
I mean, there were several much more expensive pieces of jewelry that were there also. And this is not my first case with a lot of expensive jewelry.
How did you play dumb earlier?
Did you get it pulled up, Mr. Atkins? Oh, great. Thank
Her
you.
explanation made that look
Okay.
worse, sound worse.
Let's go back to 512 VV for just a moment.
Okay.
Look at would you read that line below again about running like Ricky?
Yes.
And what is the import of running like Ricky?
It's from a movie,
And what movie is that from?
Boys in the Hood.
And what's happening to Ricky in Boys in the Hood that's running like Ricky has become a meme?
He's getting gunned down in a drive-by shooting,
And what's he doing when he's getting gunned down?
running.
And he's running down an alley, correct?
Yes.
And he's running at a pretty good clip away from the vehicle that is shooting him with a shotgun, correct?
Correct.
Okay. He's not standing on a sidewalk, right?
I didn't insinuate that.
Sorry?
I didn't insinuate that.
No, I didn't say you did. I'm just
Okay,
asking
yeah,
you a
no.
question.
He's running.
Okay. And he's running away directly away from the shotgun that's coming out of a car to shoot him, correct?
Correct.
Okay. This picture here of I guess it's Duke, it's Martinez Arnold, correct?
Yes.
And Diamante Kendrick. This is from June 23rd, 2020, correct?
Correct.
And that is approximately 5 years and 5 months after the killing of Donovan Thomas.
Yes, this picture was more so of importance to me to show the alliance between the Crips and YSL.
Oh, that's right. That's a hybrid gang, right?
Correct.
Okay. And a hybrid gang is kind of like a nose of wax, right? It's something that you can twist and pull so that any type of characteristics that you find can meet the definition of a gang, right?
That's not true.
It isn't true. Why wouldn't that be true?
For example, this hybrid gang with Mr. Arnold, this came about when Mr. Keith Troop died, and Mr. Williams gave the eulogy at Mr. Keith Troop's funeral. And if you listen to Mr. Kitchens, he tells the story about how Mr. Williams was put in charge to take care of Mr. Kitchens and guide him, and he's the one that kind of took them under their wing, and it was okay. And Mr. Williams was the first one to cross color lines when it came to gangs here in Georgia. And they were first uneasy with that, but Keith Troop explained to them, no, it's okay, this is something we do now. So that's an example. And the Department of Justice defines hybrid gangs as a gang member's participation in multiple gangs, vague rules and code of conduct, gangs or different gangs collaborating together to commit crimes.
Sure.
And there's several other definitions, but it's not just something I made up. The Department of Justice defines
No,
it
no,
too.
no. I know. And what I'm trying to understand from you is I've seen multiple gang experts come in here and talk about definitions of gangs and definitions of hybrid gangs. And it just appears that if a group of individuals don't fit your definition of a gang, that they automatically get classified as a hybrid gang. I'm asking a question about hybrid gang.
Well,
Can you explain what a hybrid gang is?
yes, it's
Yeah.
I gave you part of it. It's traditionally a neighborhood gang or local gang that tries to take on the identifiers of a traditional gang. Like, I'm from New York. The gangs in New York are much more structured. The gangs in LA, Chicago are much more structured. I apologize, from New York. The gangs are much more structured here in Georgia. You'll see there are neighborhood cliques that will adopt the identifiers, like YSL, for example, adopted the identifiers of sex, money, murder. They were sex, money, murder based in the beginning, but then Mr. Williams decided to do his own spin on it. Like I said, when he was very close to Keith Troop, when he was deceased, or prior to that, like I said, if you watch, there's history about it where Mr. Kitchens talks about he was sent to go help out Mr. Williams at one point. And at first he was uneasy, like, oh, do we do this? And he said,
Slow down also.
Yeah,
It's
just-
sustained
yeah.
to hearsay.
and that's,
I'm trying to understand, without giving examples, if you can define hybrid gang.
it is a neighborhood gang that takes on pieces of traditional gangs. And like I said, you'll have individuals from different gangs working together. You will have the mixed use of identifiers, like we've seen through the presentation of evidence here. Like here, this snake and the blue heart for the Crips. Vague rules and code of conduct. Sex, money, murder, bloods have a rank structure. I don't know a rank structure within YSL. So they take pieces of what they like and they put their own spin on it, but are still backed by a traditional gang.
So a traditional gang would have a hierarchy, correct?
Correct.
But you, according to I believe the testimony we've heard, YSL as a gang doesn't have a hierarchy.
They don't have, but the Goodfellas, for example, they have,
I'm asking, let's go back to my question.
Right,
YSL.
right.
Well, the answer wasn't responsive to my question.
Overruled. Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay.
Okay. YSL does not have a hierarchy as a traditional gang does, correct?
They don't have a set of leadership like roles, no.
Okay, so in that sense, they wouldn't fit into the definition of a traditional gang.
But they're still welcomed by members of the Sex, Money, Murder, Bloods.
Can you just answer my question?
Yes.
Okay. So my question was, they don't fit into the definition of a traditional gang.
Correct.
So instead, they get slotted over to this catch-all category of hybrid gang, correct?
I wouldn't call it a catch-all, no.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Weinstein.
Look at Max ready to get out of that chair.
All right.
Sh-
A minute, let me just ask y'all a scheduling issue.
Okay, approaching for a schedule issue. We won't count this approach. Shart is ready. Whoo! All right. Rate that cross-examination. Let's do, instead of how Doug did, let's rate how Viverito held up during the first cross. Scale of 0 to 10, how did Viverito hold up during that cross-examination?